Welcome to the Altered Sound Effects Church on a Budget Tech Tour. Church on a budget, you say? That's a full-size X32. That wasn't cheap. How can you possibly say that this tech tour is about to be for a church on a budget? Well, quick little story about the X32. I was brought into Consult to change over. They wanted to do in-ear monitors for 7 musicians. And they had an analog console. The soundboard that this one replaced was an Allen & Heath Z428 24-channel board, which had plenty of inputs, but certainly not enough outputs to do in-ear monitors. And they had purchased that long before I had come along, and we were able to sell it and get $1,000 for it. So for an analog console, the Allen & Heath was a solid choice at the time, but they wanted to move to in-ears. So I decided that we needed to go with a digital console, and they said they had some old sound gear and weren't sure what it was worth. And so I took a look around, and in the basement they had some Crown amps. They had a bunch of other things like Behringer feedback destroyer, the entire rack of equipment that would be replaced by the X32, such as compressors, graphic EQs, all of that stuff we were able to sell. And in the end, once we sold all of the equipment that they had here in their rack and in the basement, which was quite a bit, we had enough to purchase the X32. But then, moving on to in-ear monitors, you're like, okay, well, you got the soundboard, but how are you going to do in-ear monitors on a budget now that you spent all the money on the soundboard? Well, we decided to start with a wired in-ear setup, and it's very unconventional. I will say it's a bit unconventional, but it works. It works for what they do. And so let me just give you a little peek down here. Sorry, it's a bit of a mess, but what we ended up doing was going with a Behringer headphone amplifier, which could do more than enough outputs. And the snake that they had installed before I got here was a 32 channel, by luck have it, 32 channel by 8 output snake. In fact, let's take a walk up onto the stage and take a look at it. And so when I say unconventional, I certainly mean unconventional, because we took the outputs from that snake and sent the headphone amplifier outs down them. And our stage lighting isn't on, but I think we can still see. So in here, under the cross, as I kneel before it, is our snake. And I know it looks like a bit of a mess down here, but over here are all of the headphone outputs. Everything's labeled, has to be, because there's a lot here. And so then at the worship leader station, don't leave your microphones like this. I tell them this, and sometimes they don't listen. That's a good way to have a very nice Sennheiser microphone just fall. All right, so what's coming from the snake is obviously the microphone and a line for their headphones. We did go with Shure SE 215s, which is really a good entry-level headphone. I'll leave a link in the description for these and for the other parts of the system that we use. And so they've got these, and they have some small tablets as well that we got that it really kind of streamlined the system and made it work. Now, downside to these is obviously there's the wires there, and the biggest weakness of this setup, if I can find it, is this. So you have to use an adapter into the headphones. And we had looked at the smaller barrel, the 1/8 inch that would go directly to it, but it seems that the 1/4 inch barrel holds up a lot better. So we went with that. And do the musicians sometimes have to finagle with these a little bit to get them perfect? Yeah, but again, it works. And we have one for every one of our musicians was able to have in-ear monitors to help conserve on budget. Not budget. Obviously, the X32 only has so many outputs, and we already have left, right, sub. And so musicians such as like the drummer didn't really require a stereo mix, and a mono mix was just fine. Some of our singers who are really sensitive to putting in-ears in, if you're going to do in-ear monitors, you really should have at least, we have a crowd mic that gets moved up a little bit here. It's hiding in the plants here, I think. Then I'm able to feed in, there it is, and it doesn't sit right there. I move it forward a little bit, just the plants got moved, I think. And so we have that to feed in a little bit of the audience, of the congregation into their ears, which helps them to feel like a little more like they're in the space. And with the singers, having a stereo mix helps them to feel less enclosed in a box. If you're going to do in-ear monitors, you really need to bring someone on, bring someone to consult, because if you do in-ear monitors wrong, your musicians will hate them, your singers will hate them, and then they're never going to want to try them again. And really, the issue probably was just how they were set up. You'll notice we do have 2 wedges on the stage. Those are pretty much off on Sundays, unless we have a guest. We don't have a spare set of in-ear monitors for a guest. So we like to keep a couple of wedges up there too, just in case. So let's go back and I'll give you a little sneak peek at our show file and how we put this all together. Felt like I just tripped over something. All right, back in we go. Again, excuse the mess. So what we have going on here is on our input, so this is the input side of the board, we have our wireless microphones, our wired and wireless microphones, includes we got pastor's mic and an announcement mic. On any given Sunday, not all of these microphones are used, and I do keep a fader right on top here for that crowd mic. It does not go to the main bus. Here, if I hit select, if I hit select, you see it is not going to the main bus. That is something you have to be super careful with inputs that are going only to the ears, is that you make sure they only go to the in-ears. On the second layer here, I have our instruments in blue, our keyboards, guitars, bass, and then our drums are over here. We have an electronic drum kit that's a Roland. It's an older, I want to say it's the V5. It's one of their older systems. And you know what? It does a great job. And I love that I can control the levels up here, no matter who I have up there for a drummer. That works pretty well. And then for general show control on any given Sunday, I usually work over on the DCA side of things. If you're not familiar with DCAs, it's a digitally controlled amplifier. In analog, they were called VCAs. And essentially what it allows me to do is to take a group of channels. So here, you see I've color matched them as well. So when I press for the vocals, that now lights up, and this one fader will keep whatever proportions that I have here, and as I bring the fader down or fader up, it'll keep those levels proportionate. It's not a subgroup like you'd see on an analog desk. The audio does not go anywhere else from this DCA. It just controls the input level as a group. That's one thing people often get confused on with DCAs, is exactly what they do. So I have a DCA for the choir, I have one for the band, I have one for the drums, and I have one for my vocal effects. Mainly when the worship team switches from singing to someone speaking, praying, we really don't want the prayer to be washed out in reverb, so I can bring that down. you really should manage that. It really helps to clean up your mix when someone's talking and you can understand what they're saying. I have the crowd mic also here over on a DCA. The crowd mic goes to the in-ear monitors and our live stream, and this will help me keep a general level for both. But as you can see, most of my DCAs I try to keep around the 0 dB mark, and they don't move too far. I also have the podium mic and the pastor's mic over here, and our PC for any playback that we have going on, and our main fader. The next thing, we'll go to our mixes here. So on the first layer, you'll see the very first thing I have is our live stream. So our live stream is a pre-fader mix. No, I take that back. I keep our live stream post-fader because I have to mix everything. I mix front of house, in-ears, and the live stream. And for me, keeping it in post helps me to manage it a little bit better. Is it a perfect system? No, a perfect system would be having multiple people, one to do in-ear monitors, one to do the broadcast or live stream, and one to mix the house. But this is what works for me. A little unorthodox, but it's okay. You'll see I have our wedges are muted right now. I have them on a channel. And now, as I go through here, you'll see that when I have a single channel here, it's because that instrumentalist felt that they really didn't need to have a stereo mix. So our guitar player, our keys players, we like to have in stereo. It wants to be in stereo. And one of our singers was just fine with mono. She liked it perfectly fine. So we kept her there, only using one channel. Guitar player was fine. The other keyboard, since the keyboards have stereo outputs, we keep the in-ear monitors for the keyboards in stereo as well. And I know our bass and drums are showing the same color, but they are both mono channels as well. And then the last two are the effects, bus sends. So that is our overall setup here. Things run fairly smoothly from week to week using this setup. Going back just to the in-ears for a moment, the one downside to this is the transformer that is inside of the Behringer headphone amplifier is a bit noisy, and especially when there's no music playing or they're standing still, the singers can hear a buzz in the headphones, and I'm sure it doesn't help so much that we're running a headphone line out down a snake, which is really unorthodox, but it works. Once the worship team is playing, they've all said in rehearsal and whatnot, you know what, I really don't even notice that buzz once we get moving. We've done other things to help keep our budget low. We have some budget wireless microphones that just run off of this system here. Again, budget can be okay as long as you know what to expect. Sometimes there's a little noise that happens, and we understand that that's because, well, our microphone set was very inexpensive. We do have a nicer Sennheiser setup for the pastor's mic, but overall, you know what? We kind of went the budget route and then are slowly building and replacing things as budget allows with higher quality. You saw, I'll leave a link for our review of the Phenyx Pro wireless. Oh, that was my finger in the camera, sorry. The Phenyx Pro wireless microphone set. I'll leave a link up above there somewhere if you want to go check that out. That may be our next move forward. And that particular in-ear monitor system, again, it's a little bit buzzy, actually less buzzy than using the wired system here. But again, budget can work when your expectations are where they need to be. You can't expect pure clean audio when some of your gear is on a budget. But again, as long as in the end for our church here, it comes down to, can the musicians and the worship team connect with the congregation in worship, and they do that, and they do that pretty well. And so the budget doesn't need to limit the worship is essentially what I'm saying. So, well, I've talked enough, and sorry you have not seen my face. I'm terribly camera shy, and so I just wanted to leave you this information. I'll leave some links in the description. If you have any questions over this stuff, please leave a message in the comments, and I will get back to you. All right, have a wonderful and blessed day. Thank you for watching. Also, please, saved it for the end, didn't put it in the front, but please like the video, subscribe it, share it with others, and hopefully they can get something out of this as well. Have a wonderful day.